Have you ever walked into a room and felt like something changed, but no one said a word? Like people subtly shifted their tone, avoided your gaze, or sat just a little farther away? It's not in your head. As we age, there are silent habits we slip into, ones no one talks about, that slowly push people away, not out of malice, but discomfort. Respect turns to pity. Warmth fades to tolerance. And worst of all, we often don't even notice it happening. But today, we're pulling back the curtain on 12 quiet behaviors that might be quietly unraveling your dignity and your relationships. As we age, we grow wiser, but also more vulnerable to habits that quietly erode how others perceive us. These aren't loud or obvious mistakes. They're small things, often invisible to us, but painfully clear to everyone else. In this video, we're unpacking 12 subtle behaviors that might be distancing you from the people who care most, and how to take your power back, one simple shift at a time. If that sounds valuable, give this video a like so we know you're here with us. And if you're ready to see yourself through new eyes, let's begin. You don't lose your dignity in one dramatic moment. It drips away slowly, like a leaky faucet, one quiet drop at a time. It starts innocently, a skipped shower here, a familiar shirt worn again because it's comfortable, even though the collar is stained and the fabric's gone thin. Hair that used to be styled is now flattened by the weight of sleep, and the razor sits untouched for days. Fingernails grow a little long, maybe with a faint trace of soil beneath them. Just enough to go unnoticed by you, but not by others. No one says anything. Not your partner, not your kids, not even your closest friend. But they notice. They sit a little farther on the couch. They offer a handshake instead of a hug. Their eyes flicker, just briefly to a stain, a smell, a sign. And you wonder, why does everyone feel distant? The truth is, personal hygiene isn't about impressing anyone. It's not about beauty or ego. It's about signaling to the world and to yourself that you're still here, that you still care, that you're engaged in life, not surrendering to it. As we age, routines change. Energy dips. Responsibilities shift. And without meaning to, we sometimes start telling the world a quiet lie. I don't matter as much anymore. That lie shows up in the way we dress, the way we smell, the way we show up. Or don't. And people respond to that lie even if they don't want to, even if they love you. Because we teach others how to treat us, not with words, but with presence. But here's the truth. No one says loud enough. You can reclaim that presence. It doesn't take a transformation, just intention. A fresh shirt, clean and ironed, combed hair, trimmed nails. A subtle scent that says, I didn't forget who I am. And the moment you walk into a room like you believe you belong, people respond. They lean in. They smile longer. They remember who you were and realize you're still that person, because dignity never really leaves you. Sometimes it just waits for you to look in the mirror and invite it back. But even when you look your best, there's one thing that can break connection faster than anything else, and it slips through your lips before you even know it. Let's talk about the power and danger of unfiltered words. I'm just being honest. How many bridges have burned behind that sentence? As we get older, something strange happens. That little voice in our head, the one that used to whisper, maybe don't say that, begins to fade. And in its place, a bolder voice rises. I've lived long enough to speak my mind. And that's fair. You've earned wisdom. You've seen more, felt more, survived more than most. But what starts as hard-earned truth can slowly morph into something else, something colder. Without realizing it, your honesty may begin to feel like criticism to those on the other side. It's not what you said about your niece's parenting, it's how you said it. It's not that you mentioned someone's weight, it's that you said it like it was your right. And when the response is discomfort or silence, we double down with, "People are just too sensitive these days." But are they? Or are they just tired of feeling judged in the name of honesty? The truth is, people don't drift away because you're direct. They drift because they don't feel safe anymore. They start editing themselves around you. They hesitate before sharing. The phone rings less. The visits shrink. And you might think it's them, but often it's the echo of a dozen small wounds they never voiced. Now here's the pivot. You don't have to silence your truth, but you do have to season it with kindness. Before you speak, ask, is this helpful? Is it kind? Would I want someone to say this to my child? If the answer's no, pause, because honesty without empathy feels like a hammer, not a bridge. And when you choose compassion over correction, something powerful happens. People open up, they lean in, they trust. Because your words don't just speak truth, they speak care. You don't lose your voice when you soften it. You sharpen your impact. And even when your words land perfectly, what you wear might be telling a completely different story. Let's talk about clothes and how they silently shape how the world sees you. Sometimes, the clothes we wear are like photographs, snapshots from another life, another body, another chapter. That soft flannel shirt, it's not just fabric. It's a memory, it's comfort. It's the one I've always worn. But here's the quiet truth. Clothes that don't fit right anymore. Sagging pants, shirts that stretch too tight, outdated patterns frozen in time. They don't just whisper nostalgia. They can silently scream, "I've stopped seeing myself." You might not notice it, but others do. They see the pants that pull around your ankles or the jacket that swallows your shoulders, and even if no one says anything, even if they smile and act like everything's fine, something shifts. Because how you present yourself tells the world how you want to be treated. This isn't about vanity. This isn't about chasing fashion trends or dressing like you're 25 again. It's about intention. When you wear clothes that fit well, feel clean, and reflect who you are today, not who you were 20 years ago, you send a powerful message. I'm still engaged, I'm still proud, I still care. And it changes the way people interact with you. A grandchild leans in with admiration. A friend lingers longer in conversation. A stranger smiles because there's a quiet elegance in how you carry yourself. It doesn't require money. It doesn't require a wardrobe overhaul. Sometimes it's just one piece. A shirt in a color that brings warmth to your face. A pair of shoes that say, "I chose these," instead of "these were closest." Because every piece of clothing you put on is a vote for how much you value yourself and how much others should too. This isn't about impressing anyone. It's about reconnecting with the version of you that used to walk taller, look people in the eye, and feel worthy of being seen. That version is still there. Sometimes it just needs the right clothes to come out again. But even if you're dressed to impress, there's one habit that makes people stop listening, no matter how much you care. Let's talk about conversations and how dominating them can leave you more alone than you realize. You don't mean to interrupt. You just have a story that fits, a thought that feels urgent, a memory that makes the moment make more sense. And so you speak with energy, with intention, with history, but slowly the room begins to dim. Not literally, but emotionally, because something's missing. You're the only one talking. As we age, the stories we carry grow heavier, fuller, richer. We've lived more. We've seen things they haven't. And there's a deep desire to share it, to be heard, to matter. But that desire, if left unchecked, can quietly silence everyone around us. It shows up as jumping into someone else's sentence, offering advice before they've finished their thought, or steering the conversation, again, back to a story you've told before. No one calls you out. No one says you're dominating the conversation, but you start to notice the signs. People call less. They nod more, but speak less. You walk away from a coffee catch-up feeling strangely empty, like something's off, but you can't name it. The truth is, people don't want to feel like an audience. They want to feel seen too. And listening, truly listening, is one of the rarest, most powerful gifts you can give. Ask yourself, when was the last time you asked a question just to hear the answer, not to prepare your next sentence? When was the last time you let a silence linger, just to see what someone might say next? The irony is, when you stop trying so hard to be heard, people lean in. They ask for your stories. They seek your thoughts. Because now, there's space. And in that space, connection grows. Being heard is powerful. But making others feel heard, that's legacy. And while words can drive people away, there's one thing even more damaging, one habit that makes people feel invisible in your presence. Let's talk about what happens when we constantly complain about kids these days. It often starts as a joke, a teen glued to their phone, a new slang term that sounds like gibberish, a lifestyle choice that makes you quietly shake your head. So you say it with a smirk, with a sigh, maybe even with affection. Kids these days, they don't get it. But here's the thing. They hear it, loud and clear. Even if they laugh it off, something subtle happens each time that phrase is spoken. A quiet wall goes up between generations, and without realizing it, we become harder to reach, harder to connect with, harder to love out loud. It's a strange trap. We look at their world, their choices, their energy, and it just feels so foreign, so chaotic, so different from what we once knew. But maybe that's the point. Maybe the world they're in is different, not worse, not better, just unfamiliar. And maybe they don't need our commentary, maybe they need our curiosity. Because here's what no one tells you. When you constantly criticize a younger generation, they don't hear wisdom. They hear judgment. And when people feel judged, they shut down. Fewer calls, fewer updates, conversations that skim the surface. And suddenly, you find yourself on the outside of their lives, wondering why no one shares with you like they used to. Not because you're irrelevant, but because they don't want to be misunderstood. The truth, every generation thinks the next is missing something. But legacy isn't built by being right about the past. It's built by being open to the present, even when it doesn't make sense. Instead of, back in my day, try, what's it like for you right now? That one question changes everything. It turns a lecture into a bridge. And the moment you ask it, they lean in. Because now, you're not comparing, you're connecting. But even if you stop criticizing and start connecting, there's one habit that still makes people retreat, not because they don't care, but because they feel overwhelmed. Let's talk about what happens when every conversation becomes a rundown of your medical history. We all carry aches as we age, in the joints, in the heart, in the quiet corners of our lives that used to feel lighter. And talking about it, it helps. It's human, it's honest, but sometimes, without realizing it, pain becomes the only thing we talk about. The doctor said this, the test came back like that, the pill made you dizzy, the other one made you numb, and suddenly, coffee with a friend feels like a waiting room with a side of small talk. The people who love you, they listen, at first, but over time, something subtle shifts. They check their phone more, they change the subject quicker, and they leave the conversation feeling heavier than when they came. It's not that your struggles aren't real, it's not that they don't care, it's that they feel helpless, and sometimes, quietly, emotionally exhausted, especially the younger ones. Your daughter, your grandson, your neighbor who used to stop by more. They start to pull away, not out of cruelty, but out of self-protection. Here's the thing no one tells you. Sharing pain isn't the problem. Letting pain become your identity is, you are so much more than your diagnosis. You are stories and laughter and hard-earned wisdom. You are the memory of dancing barefoot in a kitchen. You are the smell of cookies, the hum of an old song, the surprise of a joke still well-timed. And when you shift the conversation, even just a little, you shift the energy of the entire relationship. Yes, talk about what hurts, but also talk about what made you laugh this week. The weird thing your cat did, that one neighbor who can't seem to park straight, the book you loved, the person who surprised you with kindness, because you don't just want company, you want connection. And connection comes from showing that even in struggle, you're still alive with curiosity and presence. But even if you balance your stories beautifully, there's one mindset that silently blocks growth, strains relationships, and keeps the world around you frozen in the past. Let's talk about what happens when we cling too tightly to outdated beliefs. It's a phrase that sounds harmless at first. That's just how I was raised. Or worse, that's how it's always been. But over time, those words become armor, heavy, rigid, unyielding. And here's the quiet danger. The more we lean on how things used to be, the less we show up for how things are. The world changes. People evolve. Conversations shift. And when we refuse to grow with it, even a little, we stop being wise and start sounding closed. You might not think you're being stubborn. You just don't understand all these new ideas. The pronouns, the lifestyles, the digital lives, the rethinking of norms that once felt like gospel. But to someone younger, someone watching, listening, trying to connect, your resistance doesn't sound like curiosity, it sounds like judgment. And judgment shuts doors, quietly one by one. It might show up as your grandson no longer asking for advice, your neighbor skipping past a topic they used to love discussing, your grown children hesitating to share what matters most, not because they don't love you, but because they don't feel safe to be real around you anymore. Here's what most people get wrong. Evolving your beliefs doesn't mean betraying your past. It means honoring your growth. It means staying present in a world that's still spinning forward, even if it feels too fast, too unfamiliar. It's okay to not understand everything, but it's not okay to stop trying. Ask. Listen. Be willing to say, "Tell me more," instead of, "That's ridiculous." The people around you aren't asking you to agree with everything. They just want to be seen without being corrected. True wisdom isn't stubborn. It's soft enough to bend without breaking. And when others see you making space, even if you still hold your own views, they lean in, they share more. They bring you into the parts of their world that matter most. And that's where connection truly lives. But even when your mind stays open, your body might be sending a completely different message, one that frustrates strangers and isolates you without a word. Let's talk about the impact of how you move through shared spaces. It happens in the smallest moments. You pause in a store aisle to check your list, unaware that a cart behind you has stopped. Another shopper waits, then sighs, then turns and walks away. You didn't mean to block the way. You didn't even realize you had. But in that moment, without speaking, without knowing, a message was sent. My world matters more than yours right now. Of course, that's not what you intended. Your pace is slower, your focus is split, your body doesn't move like it used to. And you've earned the right to take your time. But here's the truth. No one tells us as we age. Grace doesn't come from moving fast. It comes from moving mindfully. People don't expect you to sprint or stay out of their way entirely. They just want to feel like you see them too. When you stop in the center of a hallway, drift slowly into the wrong lane on the sidewalk, or hold up a line while counting exact change. The issue isn't the slowness, it's the invisibility. Others begin to adjust around you, quietly frustrated, quietly distanced, and you may never hear a word of it. But the sighs, the eye rolls, the tension in shared spaces, that's where disconnection begins. Not emotionally, but physically. Now imagine something different. You pause to the side of the aisle, offering room for someone else to pass. You make eye contact and smile as you move aside. You show, in action, that you still share the world, not dominate it. That tiny shift, it changes how people experience you and how you feel about yourself. Because dignity isn't just in how we dress or speak. It's in how we move, with awarenesses, with care, with quiet respect for others trying to move through life too. And when people feel seen, even for a moment, they see you more clearly in return. But even when your presence is graceful and aware, there's one thing that can make people wince before you even finish a sentence. Let's talk about humor and how some jokes don't age as well as we hope. Humor is supposed to bring people together, a shared laugh, a softened moment, a bridge across differences. But what happens when that laugh doesn't land? Or worse, when it leaves someone feeling small, judged, or invisible? You might tell a joke you've told for years, a line about gender, a jab at someone's weight, a sarcastic dig you once said at family dinners that made everyone roar. But now, it doesn't hit the same. Instead of laughter, you get silence, a polite smile, a quick change of subject, or worse, that uncomfortable pause where everyone pretends not to be uncomfortable. You think, come on, it's just a joke. You feel the disconnect and say, people are too sensitive these days. But here's the hard truth. Maybe they're not too sensitive. Maybe they're just more aware of language, of impact, of how humor can either lift people up or quietly cut them down. What used to feel like bonding can now sound like exclusion. Not because you've changed, but because the world has. And that's not a bad thing, because humor isn't supposed to freeze in time. It evolves. Just like fashion, just like music, just like values. The jokes that once earned a chorus of laughs might now echo with a kind of sadness. Not because you meant harm, but because someone in the room sees themselves in the punchline. But here's the beautiful thing about humor. It's adaptable. You don't have to stop being funny, you just have to start being more thoughtful. Try stories that poke fun at yourself, not others. Laugh at the universal absurdities of life, not someone's identity or struggle. Be the one who can joke without hurting, tease without dividing, laugh with instead of at. And when people feel safe to laugh around you, they also feel safe to be themselves. That's the kind of humor that never goes out of style. But even if your words are kind and your humor lands with love, there's one behavior that can quietly unravel the respect others have for you, and it hides behind two simple words. I can't. Let's talk about acting helpless even when you're not. You ask for help, again, with the remote, with your phone, with the microwave that suddenly feels like a spaceship. Can you just do it for me? It feels harmless, maybe even efficient, but over time, it becomes something heavier, a pattern. And here's what no one tells you. When you act helpless, even when you're not, the people around you stop seeing your strength. They start seeing your surrender. Now let's be clear. There's no shame in needing help. None. But there's a big difference between asking for support and giving up before even trying. Every time you say, I don't know how, without even attempting to learn, every time you pass the task, instead of participating, you're not just skipping a chore. You're sending a message to others and to yourself that you're fading, and the people closest to you feel it. They start doing more, carrying more. Not just bags or devices, but emotional weight. They become caretakers, not companions. Resentment creeps in quietly, not because they don't love you, but because they miss the version of you who tried, who showed up, who fought to stay sharp. The truth, every small act of effort keeps your agency alive. Even fumbling through a new app, even burning toast trying to figure out a new toaster, even asking, can you show me how? And let me try? That's not weakness. That's courage. That's respect for your own mind, your own hands, your own dignity, because people don't admire perfection. They admire persistence. They respect the person who says, this is hard, but I want to do it myself. And when you do that, even imperfectly, you reawaken something inside you. Capability, confidence, pride. So the next time you feel the urge to say, I can't, pause. Ask yourself, can I try? And if the answer is yes, even a little, do it. Because staying strong isn't just about muscles, it's about mindset. But even if you stay capable and engaged, there's one habit that can quietly poison relationships, a subtle urge to always be right. Let's talk about the silent damage of needing the last word. It starts in small moments. A misremembered story, a disagreement about directions, someone younger offering a new idea you've already decided won't work. You correct them. Gently maybe, or sharply, you say, that's not how it happened. Or, trust me, I've lived long enough to know. And maybe you have. Maybe your experience does hold truth. But over time, the people around you stop hearing your wisdom. Because all they can hear is your need to win. The need to be right, to have the final word, can quietly drive people away more than any loud argument ever could. You don't mean to dominate. You're trying to help, to share what life has taught you. But when every conversation becomes a correction, every disagreement becomes a lecture, people stop bringing their ideas to you. They start choosing peace over presence, agreement over authenticity, surface-level conversation over deep connection. And the worst part, you don't even notice the shift because people stop pushing back. They nod. They smile. They say, you're probably right, but inside, they're pulling away. Here's what's more powerful than being right. Being curious. Asking, why do you see it that way? Saying, I hadn't thought about it like that. Letting someone finish their thought, even when you disagree. True wisdom isn't loud. It doesn't need to win. It makes space. It listens more than it speaks. It knows that being open-minded isn't weakness. It's influence. Because when people feel heard, they trust you more. And when they trust you, they ask for your thoughts, not out of politeness, but out of genuine respect. So the next time you're tempted to correct, to override, to prove a point, ask yourself, is this about connection or control? Do I want to be right or do I want to be close? Because in the end, people remember how you made them feel, not how many times you made them feel wrong. And even if you've mastered patience and humility, there's one last habit that can either strengthen your legacy or quietly diminish it. Let's talk about what it really means to carry yourself with dignity. There's a kind of presence that doesn't ask for attention, but commands it. A quiet grace, a stillness, a way of entering a room that makes people feel safe, seen, and small, in the best way. That presence, it comes from dignity. But dignity isn't a crown you wear once you hit a certain age. It's something you choose, every day, with every word, every step, every decision. And yet, the most common way we lose it isn't through dramatic outbursts or obvious mistakes. It's through small moments of giving up, shrugging instead of showing up, withdrawing instead of reaching out, repeating, "What's the point?" until it becomes your script. The final, most dangerous habit. Letting yourself slowly disappear, not physically, but emotionally, energetically, socially. It's the decision to fade when the world still wants your light. Because people mirror your energy. If you stop making eye contact, they stop asking questions. If you stop speaking with pride, they stop listening with interest. If you carry yourself like your story is over, they treat you like a footnote. But here's the truth that rewrites everything. It's never too late to re-enter your life, to sit taller, to dress like you matter, to speak with love instead of judgment, to listen like you've got time and stories still to gather, to move through the world like you still belong. Because you do. Your presence still has weight. Your voice still carries value. Your impact isn't over. So ask yourself, what version of me do I want the world to remember? The one who faded away quietly, or the one who re-emerged with more grace, more self-awareness, and more connection than ever before? You've just walked through 12 of the most invisible yet powerful habits that shape how others see you and how you see yourself. Now pause, reflect. Which one felt a little too familiar? Which one surprised you? And most importantly, which one are you ready to shift today? Let us know in the comments. Even one small insight can spark someone else's transformation. If this video meant something to you, share it with someone you love. And subscribe for more content that honors where you've been and guides you into who you're still becoming. You're not done, you're evolving. And we can't wait to grow with you.